And just like that, the winter anime season of 2019 finally came to an end. There were so many great animes that aired this season. Animes such as Mob Psycho 100, Promised Neverland, Dororo, and many more. This season was full of amazing titles. But among these shows, there was one anime that stood out to me.
走るの好きか? 走るの好きか?
The anime that stood out to me from the rest was Run with the Wind. Run with the Wind is what I like to call a hidden gem. Run with the Wind is not an anime that has been getting a lot of popularity, as it is being overshadowed by the popular titles of the season that I've mentioned earlier. However, watching Run with the Wind has been one of the most pleasant watching experiences I have had in a while. Please, if you have not yet watched Run with the Wind, and are still on this video, definitely go do yourself a favor and watch it. I believe it is the most underrated anime of the season, and in my opinion, it really deserves the title of Anime of the Season. Run with the Wind is not your average sports anime. It differs from the likes of Haikyuu and Kuroko's Basket, which are always about high school athletes who are trying to become the very best at that sport. Haikyuu and Kuroko's Basket are pure sports at its core, competing against other schools as its main plot. However, Run with the Wind would not be that outstanding if all it focused on was competing against other schools to become the very best at running. Run with the Wind is all about the characters. To be honest, at the start of the anime, the characters did not appeal to me that much. I thought Kakeru was going to be a Kageyama clone from Haikyuu. However, this quickly changed into something I did not imagine at all. I thought the main focus of the anime was going to be running, and maybe a few character developments here and there. But I was disappointed really quickly, in a good way of course. I was surprised at how there wasn't any major running until later on in the show, and instead we got to know a little more about each character. And I'm not talking about the two main characters Haiji and Kakeru, I'm talking about the whole cast of 10. I instantly got heavily invested into the characters because they were all so different. They were all so charming and charismatic in their own way. None of the characters' personalities felt forced, and it all felt so real. I feel like the characters in Run with the Wind can be people that you can meet in real life. These characters aren't all prodigies at running. They are just your average college students that are trying to thrive through their own ways. I think this is what makes the characters so relatable. They all have obstacles that they are trying to face in their daily life. They go through hardships like any other person, and watching the anime you might start hating on the character for their actions, but it is justified why they chose to act in that way.
あのさ! 練習だけの毎日なんてありえねえわ。
Take King for example. He was struggling to look for a job and started to skip running practices. It is easy to hate at first since his actions are pretty selfish. After all, you need 10 members to attend the Hakone Ekiden, and it seems like he is just trying to disregard everyone else's efforts by not trying. But it quickly makes sense why he chose to act this way. King faced reality. He needed money to survive, and he was getting nowhere by just running. But how all of these characters develop is the most interesting part. Aside from Kakeru and Haiji, they are all amateurs for the most part. None of them actually thought making it to the Hakone Ekiden or even making it to the qualifiers was possible. The only one who believed in this was Haiji, but as they started running, the characters start to spend more and more time running. They start to believe that they could actually make it to the Hakone Ekiden. Running starts to change for the 8 amateurs as they weren't being forced to run anymore. They were running because they wanted to. Running started to mean something different for each character. Running started to take a new form. The way the characters develop is very interesting to watch, and seeing how one man, Haiji Kiyose, can influence everyone else was even more fascinating. One of the main focus among the cast, Kiyose Haiji, is a very amusing character. If I were to describe Haiji in one word, it would be determination. For 4 years, Haiji has had the goal of running in the Hakone Ekiden.
必ず出る箱根駅伝に今日から全員口説き落とす
Haikyuu suffered an injury during his second year of high school, which was severe enough to affect how he ran. Because of this, he was not able to run at his full capacity, thus leading to him not getting a sports scholarship to a school with a track and field program. Haikyuu had no more motivation left in him. He was lost. It wasn't until his first year at Kaze University, after seeing what his friend Fujioka Kazuma achieved, he finally realized something. That he wanted to run again.
ようやくわかりました。走っても走らなくても同じだけ苦しいってことが。
Haikyuu loved running more than anything else, and as he said,
もう二度と走れなくなったとしても、俺は走ることが大好きだ。
The final moment when Haikyuu was almost at the finish line at Hakone Ekiden was a truly beautiful scene. It was heartbreaking seeing how much pain Haikyuu was in, but he knew he couldn't stop. For the sake of his teammates, the ones who brought him this far, he couldn't let them down. Haikyuu is such a lovable character in Run with the Wind. He is determined, caring, and has a personality which you can't help but fall in love with. More importantly, he was strong. Kiyose Haikyuu quickly became one of my all-time favorite characters in anime. On the other hand, there's Kurohara Kakeru. Kakeru at the start of the anime seems like a complete opposite of Haikyuu. He is a cold character that really did not open up to anyone until later on. Kakeru was the biggest critic when Haikyuu first mentioned that the 10 of them would be aiming to run in the Hakone Ekiden. And when they first started practicing, Kakeru couldn't help but get frustrated. After all, being an elite runner, he felt like the team was taking things too lightly and needed to work harder if they really wanted to reach the Hakone Ekiden. And even when they started to take things seriously, Kakeru still had his doubts on the team, and more importantly, himself. It's obvious that Kakeru went through a lot throughout his high school years, and he absolutely hated his track and field club, especially his coach's methods. Up until his second year, the anger in Kakeru kept building up, and eventually, he hit his breaking point. He wasn't the same person after this incident. Kakeru always seemed to be stunned whenever someone mentions him in his high school. This led to him and his relationship with Sakaki Kosuke, a character we all wanted to punch for being a jerk for no reason. Or so we thought. It is later revealed that due to Kakeru's action, he and all of the others in the track and field club could not participate in any more events for a while, which definitely impacted their college offers and more. I started to understand Sakaki more as a character, as I thought he just hated Kakeru's guts just because of jealousy. Kakeru lives in constant regret. He is still living in the past, and he was afraid of himself. He was anxious that he might do something like that again. All Kakeru could do was run. The common phrase, running away from your problems, could be a way to describe Kakeru's state. Rather than facing himself, he ran even more. This eventually resulted in stealing. Kakeru was in a state of complete isolation. Nothing could save him from it. Except one person. Kiyose Haikyuu. Haikyuu was the one person that truly saved Kakeru. After all, Kakeru was the perfect ideals of Haikyuu in reality. Haikyuu always seemed to be able to understand what Kakeru is going through, and always dropped subtle hints and advices that really helped out Kakeru's situation. Times when Haikyuu on purpose did not let Kakeru run. After seeing how hard he was trying to improve his time, Haikyuu knew Kakeru wanted to run more than anything. Haikyuu knew very well what it felt like, but this is what saved Kakeru. Haikyuu told him to take a step back, to look at running from another perspective. Haikyuu was the one who saved Kakeru from a never-ending pit. A pit he has been falling down for nearly 2 years. It wasn't until episode 13 when Haikyuu told Kakeru to tell the team how he truly felt, and after Kakeru told everyone his story, that's really when he overcame his fear. He was able to leave behind his past this time, instead of running away from it. Haikyuu and Kakeru formed a really strong bond throughout the story. I really like these two characters, the interactions they had and how deep and intense it was. Some of the most intense and my favorite moments in the show came from these two characters.
早くなんかなあなあで走ってる者はここにはいない。
Now, despite all I said about these two characters, and how much development the show has given them, by no means is the spotlight always on these two, and a lot of love is given to the rest of the team as well. Each of them have their own mini arc that is all concluded at the end when each of them are running their section in the Hakone Ekiden. No loose ends are left untied, which results in a conclusion that feels very clean in my opinion. Now, while characters is the greatest thing about Run with the Wind, the animation and music is also great. The soundtrack is one of my favorite in a long time, with an absolute beautiful composition by Yuki Hayashi. The anime would definitely not be the same without it. The animation is equally as great, with stunning hand-drawn backgrounds and fluid animations by Production IG. I could not tell a single time where the quality of animation dropped. I did not know that running could be so well animated and look so gorgeous. Add all of that together and there it is. Run with the Wind. Now, to answer the question in the title, is Run with the Wind just basically Haikyuu but running? And my answer to that question is no. At first glance, it is easy to assume that due to the similar animation style and it being a sports anime, it is a Haikyuu clone. But if you watch at least a couple of episodes, you quickly notice that Run with the Wind is nothing like Haikyuu. Completely two different shows in my opinion, since one focuses mostly on the sports aspect, while one focuses on the characters and drama. I think Run with the Wind is an anime that is comparable to Haikyuu in terms of quality, but I'm honestly starting to think that the depth of Run with the Wind is starting to overshadow the qualities of Haikyuu, and might become my favorite sports anime of all time. Overall, Run with the Wind is a fantastic anime in my opinion. With its excellent character development, great animation and sound quality, it became one of my favorite anime really quickly. The pacing of the anime is exceptional at 23 episodes where nothing feels too rushed or dragged on for too long. And the perfect blend of comedy, drama, and action. I was truly blown away when I was watching Run with the Wind for the first time. If I were to pick an anime of the season, or even a contestant for the anime of the year, my choice would be definitely Run with the Wind.
なあ、走るの好きか?
Thank you so much for watching my video on Run with the Wind. Please leave your feedbacks and suggestions in the comments below, and subscribe if you are interested in more content. Well then, I'll see you guys in the next one.